Our next speaker is, we're fortunate to have with us the Attorney General of Pennsylvania. Keeping up with our theme, we had an Auditor General that actually knows how to conduct an audit. We're crazy, we Republicans. We helped elect an Attorney General that actually was a prosecutor and was a district attorney in York County, had seen the inside of a courtroom, as opposed to his predecessor, who doesn't really get stuff done. Anyway, Dave Sunday comes to us as Attorney General, not only successful in his brief tenure there, but comes with experience in York County, not only fighting crime and having the backs of our fellow folks in law enforcement and being with their officers, but making sure that he was doing things in the community, not only so that so the bad guys were kept away from the good guys, but so that young men or young women that created their first offense learned the right thing to do, and that when people returned to society, they were given the skills and the opportunity to succeed. Someone of intelligence, dedication, public service, a husband, a dad, and we're lucky to have him as our Attorney General. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Sunday.
Thank you, my friend. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an absolute honor to be here and to, my friends from York that I paid to cheer for me, thank you. I appreciate you with all my heart, and it's very nice to see you, by the way. So it's an absolute honor to be here with all of you. I want to thank Loman Henry for all of his hard work putting this together every year. I know how unbelievably important this event is for a lot of people, to bring conservatives together, to talk about life, to strategize, and to discuss the world around us. So obviously I've been in office now for a little over a year, I ran to be the Attorney General that makes sure that there's accountability. I'm a dad and I'm a husband, and I think that we have to have a safe community. If communities aren't safe, literally nothing else matters. And so to that point, I want to share with you a little bit of the work that I've done over the last year. To start with, I will say that one of the pillars of the conservative movement has always been rooted in public safety. If you've ever heard me speak, you know that one of my core beliefs is that if communities aren't safe, nothing else matters. I've spent the first year plus of my term as Attorney General working on these issues that specifically impact public safety, working with the exceptional public servants in the Office of Attorney General, working with our federal partners, our state partners, our local partners, and everyone in between to do everything we can to keep our communities safe. And we have some measurable results that I'd like to share with you. First, we have focused this office on its core competencies, and they can be summed up like this. The Office of Attorney General upholds the rule of law in our Commonwealth. I believe very strongly that we as elected officials must do the job that we were elected for. That is unbelievably important. I take that very, very seriously, and I have made sure that the Office of Attorney General focuses on our core competencies of keeping people safe. So you just heard from Senator Martin and Leader Topper, and when they pass a law, they work very hard to get yes to get to yes on an issue. And my role as Attorney General, one of my roles is that I am to defend statutes and I am to defend the law. And I want to talk about that a second. We have the law that is passed by our legislators, it's signed into law by the governor, and my job is to defend it. I talk about this every time I have an opportunity because when you look across the country, there are certain attorneys general that don't respect that. And they've chosen to not defend the laws of the land simply if they don't believe in it. And that is not my role. My role is to defend every law that exists. That's something that I have done since the minute I stepped foot into the Office of Attorney General. It's something that I will continue to do. And if someone wants to change or repeal a law, there is a process to do that. If I would substitute my specific will for that of 13 million Pennsylvanians, then what type of Attorney General would I be? I would never, ever do that. We will show up in court and we will defend the laws of this Commonwealth. Another place we're showing up is in our communities. We are fighting tooth and nail every day to eradicate drug trafficking organizations. Many of you have heard me speak over the years, and you know that it is unbelievably important that we fight to keep illegal drugs away from our children. When I was a kid, and if you made a mistake, you might not feel well for a day. Maybe, I'm not saying that happened to anyone in this room, but I'm saying that that's something that could happen. In today's world, and this is not hyperbole or me being dramatic, the reality is one mistake for a child could equal death because of how powerful these illegal drugs are on our streets. It is unbelievably important that I focus on that issue, and that's something that we have done. And I'm proud to tell you that in working with all of our partners, because that's what you do, this is a team effort, the Office of Attorney General last year, we were able to seize and remove over 56 million doses of fentanyl from the streets of Pennsylvania. Over 56 million. Every single one of those doses could have killed someone, could have resulted in death. And, I always mention, I talk about being a father, and I'm very afraid of the world my son has to grow up in. And I truly can tell you that's what fuels me every single day. It only takes 0.02 milligrams for someone to die from fentanyl. That's the speck of a salt. That's the size of it. And that's something that we have to fight. Last week alone, I was in Philadelphia announcing the dismantling of a gang that operated with impunity in Northeast Philadelphia for well over a decade. I also said before I was elected that I would work with every police department in Pennsylvania, and I have leaned into it, and we work every single day with the Philadelphia Police Department so that they have someone that's fighting for them every single day in court when we bring charges of that nature. The gang that we took out, we called it Operation Cocaine and Coffee, for what it's worth, cocaine and coffee. And the reason for that is because they operated out of what they said was a coffee shop. This coffee shop had barely any coffee, and it had no cash register, but what it did have was on the second floor, members of a gang that were cooking crack cocaine and selling it all throughout North Philadelphia. We arrested the entire gang, we removed them from the streets, and they're all now in jail. Yep. These individuals prey on addicted people, addicted humans. Addiction is an absolute horror. I can tell you that some of the worst things I've ever seen in my life are parents who had to slowly watch their children ebb away into the world of addiction. It's something that I think is inhuman, and it's something that I will continue to fight for relentlessly. At the same time, we attack the demand side as well by using initiatives in the Attorney General's office where we work with the police to help get people into treatment so that they never die, so that they don't have to be in this situation to even commit these crimes. And I think that's the human thing to do, and we will continue to do so. That being said, I think it is absolutely critical that we also address the mental health crisis in Pennsylvania. And I could talk about that for like the next 2 hours, but the reality is we do have a mental health crisis. A lot of the technology that exists is causing a lot of harm to children in our communities, and that's something that I'm going to talk about here in a second. When I talk about the work we do to help people to make sure they don't commit crimes in the first place, I think that's so important because my whole philosophy on criminal justice is accountability and redemption. You have to hold people accountable. Without accountability, nothing else matters. My dad was a Marine, and then he was a school teacher, and I promise you there was accountability in my house, sometimes a little extra accountability. But is the reality of my growing up. But on the other side of it, with redemption, we want to do everything we can to believe in the principles of redemption for people that have been accountable. If someone breaks in my house, I want to prosecute it, but I truly would rather no one ever break into my house. We have worked very hard in the Attorney General's office, and the time's moving faster than I thought up here. I'll do my best. To work in a huge issue that's impacting all Pennsylvanians, and that is human trafficking. We have a human trafficking section that works in every community in Pennsylvania. We have investigations in literally over 50 counties right now. And I want to tell you that since the human trafficking section took off, and this is only within the last year, we have seen a 125% increase in cases since that section was started. 125% increase in human trafficking cases in Pennsylvania. I am beyond proud to be working with legislators on both sides of the aisle on all of these issues and the new Human Trafficking Caucus to ensure we have the proper laws and tools to combat this issue. We have a lot of events coming up in Pennsylvania. We have the NFL draft in Pittsburgh. Go Eagles. This summer we have I'm talking about right there. and other people's teams as well. We have the FIFA World Cup. We have the Major League All-Star Game in Philadelphia. And these events bring a lot of exposure, but at the same time, they bring a lot of bad guys that come there to deal drugs and also do human trafficking. And so we're working with everyone on the planet to do what we can to stop that. I want to talk a little bit about AI and technology. So one of the many, many challenges that we're facing is combating in all these criminal issues that I spoke about is the work and rise of AI and the advancement of technology. Any single time our children connect to the internet, they become targets for predators who try to utilize that technology to alter their voices and groom children. I would venture to say that even while sitting here, people in this room may have received calls or text messages from someone trying to scam you. My parents are in their early 80s. Today is my mom's birthday. She turned a certain age, and she'd be very upset with me if I told you, but today is my mom's birthday, and I love her dearly. If she's watching this, she doesn't look a day over what she is. So they showed me these messages. So anyways, my parents show me messages all the time. They get on their phones, and I'm like, stop, don't answer these calls. Don't answer, let it go to voicemail. So that being said, technology and innovation, it's not mutually exclusive with protecting children. You can and must have both. But we would be lying to ourselves if we didn't prepare for the dangers that can come with it. AI is a tool, and like any other tool, it can be used for good or it can be used for great harm. We cannot wait to put the guardrails up to protect our children until after the crash happens. That's why I'm working, and we are leading the charge here in Pennsylvania with a bipartisan group of attorneys general from all over the country that are working to hold these tech companies accountable and change their behavior and improve quality control so that we keep our children in a place of safety. These companies have to ensure that their products and features are thoroughly tested before they're released so that we don't see people victimized by these features through the creation of AI-generated, non-consensual, intimate images or child sexual abuse material. They must ensure that their chatbots do not promote self-harm, encourage illegal behavior, and pretend to be qualified to provide professional advice to teenagers and children. AI is growing in power and capability faster than law enforcement can keep up with it. In fact, AI is evolving literally every 48 hours as companies race to become the first trillion-dollar company. We cannot sit back and allow this technology to outpace us in law enforcement. The federal government has struggled to agree on how to manage this unstoppable force. That's why states have to step up and do it. We've been working with the legislature to ensure that Pennsylvania has the tools and the capacity to protect our citizens from the dangers while reaping the benefits that can also and will also come from that technology. I am the eternal optimist, and I'm confident that with a whole-of-government approach, one in which the states try different things and we all learn from each other, this should ultimately lead to a cohesive national strategy with tried and true tactics and regulations. Our children have no choice in this world. They are brought to this place where this technology is all around them every day. It's in school, it's at work, it's at all the places they go to. And we have seen firsthand when these tools are used inappropriately what can happen. And it's not good. And so we have taken a leadership role here, and we will continue to do everything we can to fight to not only hold the companies accountable, but to empower parents to be parents and be in a place where you can protect your children, because that is why we are all here. I cannot tell you how unbelievably grateful I am to be the Attorney General. I am so proud. I've far exceeded, I say this all the time, I probably shouldn't say it anymore, but I will. I've far exceeded the world's professional expectations for my life. I mean that with all sincerity. I grew up a few miles from here. I had next to no path when I was younger. You guys know I joined the Navy when I was 18 to get discipline. I worked at UPS all through college and law school. I worked there for 8 years. And that experience is what drives me, because I have seen what it's like to be on that side of things where you work unbelievably hard just to put food on your table, to take care of your family. And it's a world, and those are the people that we're here to protect and be a part of. I know that as Attorney General, every morning I thank God for this opportunity. And I want everyone here to know that what drives me in what I do is one thing only, and that is to work as hard as humanly possible to help and protect you and keep you safe. Pennsylvania's got one of the highest numbers of senior citizens in the entire country. And I think that we as society are often judged by the way that we protect and take care for those amongst us who can't take care of themselves. And I've also made it my mission in the office to do everything we can to protect senior citizens. And along those lines, oftentimes there are programs and initiatives that are meant for those very people that need that type of help. And I'm going to tell you that when we talk about, for example, Medicare, there's a little stat that I want to share with you. And that is that last year, the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General had more convictions for Medicare fraud than any other state in the entire United States of America. Yep. We had more convictions. We take it seriously. We work very hard every day to do the proper investigations and to hold people accountable, because when those resources are diverted criminally, they're not going to the people who really, really need that help. And that's something that I take very, very seriously, and that's something that we will continue to do and fight and battle in the Office of Attorney General. So with that being said, I would love to talk to you all more, and I'll stick around for a while and chat. But I want to thank you for everything you do, for your advocacy, for your fighting every day for Republican candidates, for the work you do in your communities, for your optimism, for your positive attitudes, and for your leadership. Because if it wasn't for you, none of us would be up here having these conversations. So God bless every single one of you, and God bless America.